Treasure of Alpheus Winterborn by John Bellairs, Chapter 1. It was a windy night in March. Anthony Munday lay in his bed listening to his heartbeat. He was lying on his left side, and the muffled thudding sounded as if it were coming from down inside the mattress. Anthony was scared, but not of the dark. He was scared of what he was listening to. Downstairs, his mother and father were arguing. As usual, they were arguing about money. "I don't care what you say, Howard. There just isn't enough money coming in. And that's all there is to it. The bills keep piling up, and I ask myself, how are we going to pay them? How are we going to, Howard? You tell me how." "Oh, come on, Ginny. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as all that. Why?" "Not so bad. It is not so bad. Well, let me tell you." And on it went. Mrs. Munday had a thing about money. There was never enough of it around to suit her. She worried so much about money because when she was a little girl, a terrible thing had happened to her family. Her father had invested in some stocks that turned out to be fakes, and he lost nearly everything he had. Mrs. Munday had grown up poor, and now she couldn't convince herself that she was well off. The memory of her father's financial disaster haunted her and made her fret and stew about money, when there was no reason to worry at all. Listening to his parents argue made Anthony feel sick to his stomach. He lay there, eyes wide, staring at the dark wall next to his bed. He heard his mother say that if they didn't watch out, they'd all be out on the street. In his mind's eye, Anthony saw his mother and himself standing on the street outside of the blackened ruins of their house. This vision always came to him whenever his mother talked that way. It hovered before his eyes like a picture on a movie screen. He wondered if his family really would go broke someday. He worried a lot about money, and considering what his mother was like, this was not very surprising. Finally, the argument was over. Anthony heard his mother's chair scrape back as she got up and started fixing Mr. Munday's supper. It was almost midnight. Mr. Munday worked late 6 nights a week. He ran a saloon. In the town where the Mundays lived, nice people didn't run saloons, and the Mundays tried hard to be nice people. So they called their saloon a cigar store, Munday's Cigar Store. And there actually were some dusty glass cases up in the front of the store that had cigars in them. Mostly, though, Munday's Cigar Store sold beer and wine by the glass. Running the place was hard work, and Mr. Munday ran his saloon all by himself. He had hired a helper once, but Mrs. Munday had accused the helper of stealing money out of the cash register, and so Mr. Munday had let him go. Anthony often wished he were old enough to help his dad out, but state law said you had to be 18 to work at a place where liquor was sold. And that was that. Anthony's brother Keith, who was 16, would be able to help their father in 2 more years, but for now, Mr. Munday had to go it alone. It was silent downstairs now, except for the sound of bacon sizzling. Anthony rolled over and tried to sleep. Wild shadows cast by the swinging street lamp on the corner, leaped across the bedroom wall. From across the hall, Anthony could hear the sound of his brother's snoring. Keith was lucky. He could sleep through anything. Meanwhile, Anthony lay awake, worrying. He worried about what would happen if his dad got so sick that he couldn't work. There wasn't much work that a 13-year-old boy could do. He could get a paper route, but he could hardly make anything doing that. The shelf clock downstairs struck 12:30. Anthony started to feel drowsy, and as always, his mind drifted from worry to daydream. First, he was a diver, stumping across the floor of the ocean in a diving suit, poking among the rotting ribs of a Spanish galleon till he found a chest full of gold coins. Then he imagined himself sitting at his own kitchen table downstairs. The table was covered with a heap of gold coins. Before him stood his parents. They were smiling as they looked at the glittering mound of wealth. Now his mother would never have to worry about money again. Not ever. And, with this pleasant image before his eyes, Anthony fell asleep.